Christine, how much does it hurt the WNBA when Caitlin Clark is out?
It is devastating to the WNBA when Caitlin Clark is out.
Now, I know a lot of us were expecting some sort of dip since Caitlin Clark has been out with injury, but I don't think all of us were expecting the entire viewership of the entire WNBA to be down. And this tweet from Christine Brennan really stuck out to me. She said one player gets injured and more than half the TV audience for the entire league disappears. Has any other athlete ever had that kind of impact on a sport? Golf without Tiger definitely dropped precipitously on occasion.
As Caitlin Clark's absence from the court causes their entire empire to fall apart. The WNBA is in a terrible financial slump, once again showing that they have learned nothing about protecting the one player who brought them fame. This is the story of how a league keeps shooting itself in the foot while their star players hurt on the sidelines, and how their stubborn refusal to accept reality is costing them millions of dollars every single day. Truth is truth, and the data is there. When Caitlin was out the last time, she missed 5 games earlier in the season, and the WNBA's viewership dropped more than 50%. This happened for both the Fever and the whole league. In this age of fake drama and social media controversy, facts are as rare as sold-out WNBA games without Caitlin Clark. When Clark hurt her quad on May 24th, the harsh reality of the league's reliance on one player was made clear to everyone. She's out again with a groin injury until who knows when. This is a repeat of what happened with her ankle injury, probably because of compensation. But you have to be careful, because if you try to rush her back from this injury too, you're getting into territory where a very serious injury can happen. That's what the Indiana Fever is all about. And that's what Caitlin needs to avoid as much as possible. If that means that she's out for 3 weeks or all the way through All-Star, so be it. Nationally, viewers of WNBA games on TV dropped by an amazing 55%, and games starring the Indiana Fever saw a 53% drop in viewers from an average of 1. 81 million viewers watched when Clark played, but only 847,000 watched when she wasn't there. Now, this is where the story gets completely ridiculous, and by ridiculous, we mean predictably disastrous for a league that won't learn from its mistakes. Since Clark went down, WNBA ratings have dropped over 55% across the board. Hey, guys, guess what? League is Caitlin Clark. She is the WNBA player who went down with a left quad strain on May 24th. Since then, national TV viewership has dropped by 55%. Before the accident, they were averaging 1. 81 million people, down almost 2 million since her injury, or less than 850,000. Well, Caitlin Clark was doing what she does best, filling arenas to capacity, breaking TV ratings records, and making unheard of profits. The WNBA was doing what they do best. They didn't do anything to protect their most valuable asset, because supposedly when you have a player who is responsible for 5% of all WNBA business, so it makes sense to let her opponents target her without consequences while teaching everyone about basketball plays. This news is scary for the league, because this is such an important year for the WNBA. At the end of the season, the league will negotiate a new collective bargaining agreement, CBA. If those talks go well, every player in the WNBA will have a much better chance of making so much more in their next contract, which is one thing. When you think about how many people stopped watching when Caitlin Clark got hurt, a lot of them stopped because they're boycotting the WNBA. They don't want to watch any other teams or players, whether they like other players on the team or not, because of how the media and the league itself have treated Caitlin Clark and her fans. What's especially interesting, and by interesting I mean deeply frustrating, is it's not the first time the WNBA has seen their ratings and revenue drop when their biggest star gets hurt. It's like seeing someone touch a hot stove and get burned, then immediately reach for it again while saying they didn't know what would happen. What's really scary is that Caitlin Clark has already been out with 2 injuries, the first one being a stress fracture. He had to miss some time with a left quad strain, which is obviously a worry because if you're already hurt twice, you don't want to be known as the player who is always hurt. Cough, embedded cough, Anthony Davis. So I really hope that the fever takes its toll on her right now for a while, just so she doesn't get any more long-term injuries. If you're enjoying this, please subscribe. Ticket prices for fever games have dropped by 71%, with some tickets going from $860.00. The average ticket price for Clark's missed games dropped from $1,370.00 to $80.00, which is a huge drop that shows who really gets people interested in this league. Road games that were moved to bigger arenas to accommodate the demand for Clark tickets are now struggling to fill venues that would have been packed to capacity with her presence. Ticket prices for the Chicago Sky versus Fever rematch, one of the most anticipated games of the season, dropped from $210.00 to just $250.00 to $95.00. This is the same game that drew 2 people before. 25 million viewers, making it one of the most watched WNBA games ever. But without Clark, it's just another game that casual fans don't want to watch. Man, congrats to the WNBA. Your ratings are going to drop by 55 to 60% once again. I think the WNBA has successfully broken Caitlin Clark and Christine Brennan, the veteran sports reporter. The WNBA has been criticized heavily by a journalist whose upcoming book, On Her Game, Caitlin Clark and the Revolution in Women's Sports, promised to show the league's mistakes. Brennan wrote that the WNBA continues to fail to meet the moment after yet another incident in which Clark was targeted by opponents. People are watching like never before, and this is what they see. Brennan's criticism gets to the heart of the matter. The league knows that Clark alone draws more than half of the league's TV audience, but they continue to fail to meet the moment, letting her take cheap shots and hard fouls that don't do anything but try to scare off their biggest draw is like seeing a restaurant owner let customers bother the chef whose food is the only reason people come in. As big of a deal as Tiger was in men's golf, Keith, and when he wasn't there, it affected the ratings, but not like Michael Jordan being out for maybe 5 percentage points or something. You can make a strong case, and I will make that case and have that. There isn't a single athlete more important to their sport, tour, or whatever circuit they play on than Caitlin Clark is to the WNBA. The pattern has become both predictable and frustrating. Opponents who seem more interested in making a statement than playing basketball repeatedly foul Clark. Of the 30 flagrant fouls given out in 2024, 5 were against Clark, with the Chicago Sky being responsible for 80% of them. When Clark responds to physical play, she is criticized for being too aggressive. If she doesn't respond, she's called soft. The league has created a no-win situation and won't do anything about it. Meanwhile, the financial impact continues to destroy not only the Fever, but the whole WNBA ecosystem. The league was already expected to lose $50 million this year, despite Clark's rise in popularity. Without her on the court, those losses are growing at an alarming rate as TV ratings drop, merchandise sales slow, and attendance levels return to pre-Clark levels. I don't even know where to start, man. I hope Caitlin Clark. Okay, I want to know when this injury happened because, let's be honest, Caitlin Clark hasn't missed a game since she was about 19 years old or 18 years old and in college. Now she has a groin injury. We've never seen Caitlin Clark play as badly as she has in the last 3 games. She's only made 1 of 20-something three-point shots in those 3 games. Has she been hurt and playing through it, which is the most damning thing about it? This whole thing could have been avoided. Clark came into the league as a humble rookie who constantly praised her teammates and avoided drawing attention to herself. She took criticism with amazing grace and maturity for someone who was only 22 years old. The league could have have embraced her, protected her, and used her popularity to raise the sport as a whole, but instead they let jealousy and small-time politics ruin what should have been a celebration of women's basketball. The effects of Clark's injury go far beyond TV ratings and ticket sales. Corporate sponsors who put millions of dollars into the WNBA based on Clark-driven growth are now wondering if they made the right choice. This situation shows a fundamental problem with how the WNBA positions itself. The league seems stuck between wanting to be taken seriously as a professional basketball organization and wanting to embrace every bit of manufactured drama that might get people to talk about it on social media. You can't have it both ways. Professional leagues protect their stars and keep the competition fair, while high school drama clubs create controversy and hope people will talk about it. One thing I admire about Caitlin is that she's tough and a warrior. Listen to me, bro. You just don't see players like her. I'm sorry, I didn't see a lot of female basketball players, like I said. The comparison to other professional sports leagues is stark and embarrassing. Imagine if the NBA let players target LeBron James with dirty plays for months while saying it was just a game of basketball. The league would shut that down right away. The WNBA should be suspending players for flagrant violations right away, but they seem happy to let this destructive pattern continue, as if they think that any attention is good attention. The league's failure to protect Clark has created a toxic environment where fans are refusing to watch other WNBA games because they no longer trust the competitive integrity of the sport. When your own fans say they won't watch games without your biggest star because they don't trust that the games will be fairly officiated, you have a serious problem. There is a credibility problem that goes beyond ratings and revenue that needs to be fixed. I think that the physicality, hacking, and fouling that happens, as well as Marina Mabury's surprise, are all having an effect. What you're doing is hurting yourselves because the numbers will keep going down. And trust me, when it's time for that collective bargaining agreement, they will bring this up and say, well, how can we give you guys all this money if she gets hurt? Even more frustrating is that the WNBA has had many chances to change course, but they have failed all of them. The Clark incident should have been a wake-up call for the league to set clear standards about player safety and competitive integrity. But instead, each incident has been met with the same tired responses about basketball plays and letting the players play. Ironically, Clark's injury, which the league should have been trying to avoid, has led to the current situation. The 55% drop in viewership is the clearest proof of how valuable she is to the organization. However, there aren't many signs that the WNBA has learned its lesson. League officials keep talking about competitive balance and letting players be physical, as if hard fouls and dirty plays are necessary for the sport. They also keep treating normal basketball plays involving Clark as big incidents, while ignoring the fact that players regularly commit dangerous plays against her because of the way they play. I watched the game because I love the WNBA and the way they play, but I really watched because of Caitlin Clark. Now listen, if I keep bumping her and knocking her down, you might hurt her for real for 2 weeks. She was done with a hamstring injury, and 55% of viewers were down. When she comes back for the next game, about 3 million people are watching. Now, here's something you learn growing up in the hood. Always protect the money. You keep hurting her, she'll be gone for a year or two and no one will watch. It's not hard to solve this problem, but the WNBA needs to make some tough choices about what kind of league they want to be. If they want to be taken seriously as a professional basketball organization, they need to start acting like one. They need to set clear rules about player safety and consistently enforce them. They need to stop letting fake scandals overshadow the real basketball being played. Most importantly, they need to realize that their biggest stars are their players. People who actually go to games and watch them on TV should be safe from the kind of harassment and targeting that only serves to stir up social media drama. The WNBA's ongoing drop in attendance, revenue, and viewers serves as a harsh reminder of what it was like before Clark arrived and what it will be like again if they don't change how they do things. This season, the league averaged only 555,000 viewers, which is well below last year's average of 670,000. These numbers show a return to the before Clark. Arenas were empty, and only die-hard fans bothered to watch games. What I saw walking to the game is something the media doesn't show. Thousands of kids wearing what? Dylan Clark jerseys? Were they Fever jerseys? Iowa jerseys? Whatever she played, it was a whatever she played. That's what impressed me most. It wasn't just Caitlin for her style of play, but her style of, it wasn't adults watching the game, it was parents with their kids and friends. The seats were full of kids. And that's what they don't get. The saddest thing about this whole situation is that it didn't have to go this way. With better protection and promotion of their star player, the WNBA could have used Clark's popularity to build a foundation for long-term growth. Instead, they've built a house of cards that falls apart as soon as their biggest draw steps away from the court. Until the WNBA learns to promote and protect the players who actually get people interested in their league, they'll keep going through these ups and downs where one player's presence or absence determines whether anyone pays attention. The question is whether the WNBA will finally learn to protect their golden goose, or whether they'll keep going in this destructive pattern until they've wasted all the chances that Clark's popularity has given them. Based on what we've seen so far, the smart money isn't on the league suddenly making sense of things.